Damn. Yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesdays con Wilma as we book review this week. Before we get into this week's book review by Audrain, The Whispers, please like, share, subscribe, engage as I'm trying to grow my content and my channel. I would appreciate every like, every share, every engagement as it is crucial and I appreciate it. Please give me suggestions, book reads. I'm always up for looking at new books. And before further ado, thank you for spending some of your Wednesday con Wilma. I also want to put a disclaimer. This book puts out a lot of this graphic portrayal of miscarriages, multiple miscarriages. So if this is a huge, sensitive topic for you, be warned, be aware, as the writer goes into great detail about several miscarriages with one of the characters' arc, I guess you can say. Definitely go into it with the necessary resources for yourself, as they are very, very in detail, along with what happens to one of the main character's children, which is a very, very critical incident. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there for those readers who have those sensitivities. This book has that very much out in the open. This one, good old white mess. Let's get into it. The Whispers is by Audrain. It's her second book. I did not read her first debut book called The Push, but reading this definitely made me curious for more. It's noted as a domestic thriller, but I just thought it was gossipy and goodsy. I didn't find it oh my God, thriller. There are some things that happen. There are a few twists and turns, but it's not full thriller in the way that I think of it. So let's get into it. The book introduces us to some principal characters. You have Rebecca, Whitney, Blair. These are your main standard characters. And then you have Mara. And of course, they're partners, Blair, Whitney, and Rebecca's. And Mara and Albert. They are this elderly couple, Portuguese couple, who lives in this affluent suburb that's being gentrified. Just let's call it what it is, being gentrified. So they've seen the neighborhood change. They have seen how it's changed around them. And they get to see our main characters interact in their most real self, because they're very posh, polished, and they are aware of how they are being perceived to the outside world. One of the main quotes that I loved about Mara's chapter, she writes, "It's amazing what you can learn about people when you're more or less invisible, because there's not this person who she's supposed to be impressed by. You get to kind of see that true self." The style of this book is very short chapters, and they're by multiple POVs. So you're getting Blair's, you're getting Whitney's, you're getting Rebecca's. It starts off at this child's birthday party. I believe it's Whitney's. And she has twins and her older son, Xavier. And birthday party, she's going around, she's looking for him. He's known to be a little bit travieso, always into it. And she goes up to the room to find him, and she found that he took all of the party bag favors and it's open it up. And she loses her shit. Mind you, that's not what she allows the world to see. And she kind of curses him out, legit, what the F, which, disclaimer, I am so not okay with you cursing out children. I know they get into it. I know there's this debate of gentle parenting, beat your kid's ass, that's weird. It's abuse, but that's my own little rant. But either way, she doesn't hit him, but she does startle him, and the window's open. So everybody named Mom outside hears this. Let's get into the main characters. Rebecca, she's one of the main characters, and the book is written by, like I said, multiple POVs. So Rebecca is married to Ben, and she's a doctor. And one of the main points that I saw in reading that was a good eye on me of how to sum up each character is that she's a doctor, and what she cares about are facts, and she finds comfort in facts. She's actually the doctor that finds Xavier after this critical incident occurs, and things unravel from there. And she's actually the doctor that receives him, gives him care. So there's just a lot of a summation of who she is. Moving on to Whitney and her husband. One of the quotes that I found was a good summation of her is, she isn't that kind of mother. And it was referring to like the mother that shares labor stories and those intimate details of motherhood and comparisons, and wants to be in that. She's kind of detached from it. And what I got was kind of like some postpartum like breadcrumbs from that, but she like does not have like this connection to motherhood. And that was a really, really like key quote that I found about that character that like was like, okay, as I'm reading, that's an important thing to have in the back of my mind in regards to what type of character this person is going to unfold. Then you have Blair and her husband Jacob, I believe, and Blair was a hotshot at work and at one point was thriving and loved it, and then she became a mom and her life revolved around her daughter Chloe, and like she just didn't want to go back to work, and her husband makes enough money that that they can do that. So it's one of those things that you get what you want, but it still isn't what you want kind of thing. She kind of struggles with like the stay-at-home mom syndrome of like, I'm dedicating myself to my daughter and my child, but why am I still not fulfilled? And so something that I found in the description of her is, she cannot see any other life for herself and can't separate the shame of having it gotten so wrong. In regards of like, you got what you wanted, right? You did the hot shot. I believe she was like marketing or advertising. I can't remember. She had that job. She got her daughter. Her daughter's about like 9 or 10. And you're dedicating your life. And she finds really great revel in like her daughter needing her. And like she volunteers at the school with about all the fundraisers, and she's that mom. She's the PTA mom. And as you can see a glimpse of to her life and her husband's, not all that glitters is gold. There is a huge disconnect within that relationship. Some context, like she grew up seeing her mother and father in a very loveless marriage. She even write in one of her little chapters, there's this quote of like, at some point when she got of age, like her parents just kind of like talked to each other through her. Like they didn't have no connection. They like did the separate bedrooms, and like there was just a loveless marriage. So that's her purview into what marriage and love is supposed to be, as things have kind of like gone awry in her own, or on the fritz, about to go awry. Like I said, this is good. See, I was reading it with the imagery of like a big little lies, little fires everywhere. I can so see this being like a limited series on HBO, Hulu, because it reads like gossip, like more than like a thriller to me. And that's how the story unravels. So 9 months after the child's birthday, Xavier ends up in the critical care unit, and he's kind of like comatose. So the whole book revolves around what happened to him. No spoilers. I want you guys to go out and read it. I definitely would recommend it, but I genuinely enjoyed this book. I enjoyed how it read. It was quick. Like I got through it like in less than a week. I've seen some controversy. Some people was like, oh, I didn't like it. Granted, none of these characters are like somebody you're gonna like fully root for. They're kind of like trash people. But in all, like it wouldn't be good reading if like everyone was this noble, do-gooder type of character. Like people's lives are complicated, and I kind of enjoyed seeing that. Like as soon as you thought like, oh, I can see myself in them, in this one character, they'll go and do or say something, you'd be like, whoa, I would never do that. But again, people's lives are complex and complicated, and they're not a monolith. They're not all one thing. So I really did enjoy having those contrasts within the characters. I would say definitely it's a go and get. I want to say like towards like 75-80% of the book, you'll kind of get to like, oh, this is where it's going type of thing, and like the resolve of what happened to Xavier. but it's a good ride. Like I said, like I read this book in mind with like seeing it on a limited series, and I can so see like really great A-list stars like act the hell out of it. I can see them in like their best attire, being a doctor or being a stay-at-home mom and portraying those characters. So I definitely read it in that image in my mind, and therefore it was just a page turner for me in that space, and it was just like really good fun reading. Not everything's gonna be like, and then I learned this and I learned that, in that like textbooky dense reading kind of way. One of the major themes for the book for me is motherhood. What does motherhood look like to different women? And it was definitely interesting to see how these characters portrayed themselves and showed up to be, right? Like Rebecca can't have children, and you will see how that aches and pains her. Whitney is having a really difficult time, the connection and figuring out like what mom is she supposed to be, because she spends a lot of time pretending and being very prompt and practice in that space. And then you have Blair, who's like, I definitely wanted to sacrifice my life and put my child's life ahead of mine. And even then, that selfless relationship still leaves her empty in some cases, right? It still doesn't fulfill every aspect of her life. And so I think one of the overall central theme of this book is definitely motherhood and the connections to it, the disconnections to it. What does it supposed to look like? How is it supposed to feel? Because again, these conversations aren't always had out loud amongst women. It's kind of like in secrecy. Like we're all supposed to just be these nurturing vessels who's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to be a mom. And it's like, some of us are childless by choice, and some of us, that's all we ever wanted to have, and some of us gets it and like, oh, this shit is hard. Like, how do you do this? This kid comes with no manual. I'm swamped. Like, I believe Blair, in the context of her husband, gets irritated that he lives a life of ease. Like, she literally is like, I'm annoyed that he gets to just live this life of going to the office, having breakfast meetings here, and doesn't realize like the day-to-day that she does. Like, she does the laundry, she does the cooking, she does the grocery shopping, she frets after their child, and he's like, he just gets to excel in his life because of those sacrifices. And I think she definitely feels like unappreciated in that space, which is something that I feel like a lot of women in marriage can relate to, or a lot of women, I don't want to put it to just marriage, but a lot of women in relationships can definitely adhere to and speak of and understand, like, yeah, this is frustrating when you're like doing all these things and you don't get an acknowledgement because you're the stay-at-home parent. But definitely this is a go and read. It's an easy read. I definitely recommend. And I think that I want to pick up her first novel. I was doing a little research, and it seems like The Push is more of a real thriller-ish. Like, again, this is supposed to be like a domestic thriller, but this was just good old hot tea page turner, like, oh, she did what? And that's what, and that's how I read it. Very much like I was just getting my cup full of tea and having a bird's eye view to some very messy characters' lives. So this was my review for The Whispers. I would give this book like a 4.2. If I had a rating system going on, I definitely do recommend getting it. I enjoyed it. I really, really did enjoy it. Again, like I said, like as you're reading, you kind of like start to paint, like it wasn't like a, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that detail. Like, and I don't think it was supposed to be in that aspect, but I definitely recommend you picking up and reading The Whispers by Audrain. And I actually look forward to picking up her first debut novel that came out in 2022. This book came out in 2023. So I definitely love when I pick up an author's book and I get to learn more, or like kind of like get in the beginning of the wave, and I don't have to like go back and read like 17 novels that they've already written. So I look forward to reading her original novel that was out, and I look forward to seeing more of her. As always, thank you for spending some time with me on this Wednesday, this cold and dreary Wednesday over here on the Northeast. As always, I encourage you to read. If you haven't done so already, please apply for your local library card, and always read what entertains you, and you will find yourself reading so much more. Till next week.